You know where you are. Well, hopefully you do. This is Poppyland Radio. And this is your host, Simon Pink, speaking to you. So I'm hoping, I'm guessing, maybe not, but maybe you are really into your music. A bit like me, I'm a musician. And being a musician, I know lots of other musicians. So this show is all about music and people who are passionate about music, people who make music. And today we have a very, very special guest. Been a fan of this guy for a long, long time. I follow his band around where I can. They're a local band. We'll talk more about those. But the man in question is the one and only Mr. Alan Fish from the band Egypt and also the Groundhogs. And we'll be talking about what Alan's done in music, in his career, who he's played with. There's some big, big names there. You're gonna love it, you're gonna love it. Well, I did. I'm slightly biased. And along with the interview, we've got some great music. People like Led Zeppelin. Bit of CZ Top for you. So what more could you ask for? Great music, great chat. Stick around. This is Poppyland Radio. This is Simon Pink. We're going to start today's show off with a bit of Frank Marino. I love Frank Marino with his band called Mahogany Rush. This is Child of November.
Lift off and strap down to my feet. When I fly down to Mars and see the Martian fields of wheat. And a brother up on Jupiter, and I'll tell you it's no lie. It's talking about the universe before he up and died. Years from home, and here's where I belong. Been trying an awful long time to get a point into this song. A song of time and men and space and how they all relate. A song that came to me from a man who nobody could hate. Hey, it's the road coming through the Milky Way. Oh, come and see old buddy. Say what you used to say. Oh, man.
Hi, it's Simon Pink. We're on Poppyland Radio, and I'm joined by a very exciting guest called Alan Fish. Hello, Alan. Welcome to the studio.
Hi, Simon. Good to meet you.
You're actually in the studio, but via Zoom, so it's great to speak to you online. So, look, for all the audience that don't know about you, and they damn well ought to, all the audience who don't know about you, in 1 minute, sort of sum up who you are and what your connection is briefly in music.
Well, I started playing in 1960 bass. I started off as a lead guitarist for about 10 years, and then I got asked to play in France, 1970 time, and as a bass player. So I went over to France with a local band and carried on all the way through from there, playing with lots of different bands, supporting and recording with quite a few named people. And we're still playing to this day now as Egypt with a three-piece band I've got together now.
Now, I've got to ask you about some of these bands that you've played with. I'm in the understanding that you played with a fantastic band, Tony McPhee and the Groundhogs, who were real groundbreaking blues music back then. Tell us a little bit about that and how that came about.
Well, what happened, I was in a band at the time in Norwich called Wedgwood, and we went to his studio down in Haverhill to record a couple of tracks, as demos. And while I was there, he asked me to come back and put some tracks down with him later on. And consequently, I did. And he said, "Well, I'm now getting the Groundhogs back together again." I mean, this was probably early to mid '70s, and I interested in coming along, so I did. So I joined up with him then, and they had Wilbur Campbell on the drums at the time, just a three-piece, and that's Rory Gallagher's drummer, and we carried on right through till the '90s with him on and off, in various shapes and forms. And initially, the Groundhogs had changed the name to Terraplane, and then Tony McPhee's Turbo, and then because everybody was still asking for Groundhogs tracks and things, he said, "Oh, we might as well go back to playing as the Groundhogs. That's what we're going to do." And recorded a couple of albums from then on. I think the two of the albums I did, one was Groundhog Night, it's a double album, and another one called No Surrender. And then we did a live one somewhere else, and one or two others. So carried on right through till the early '90s, I think it was. On and off.
Fantastic. And the Groundhogs happen to be one of my favourite bands. So we're going to just take a quick break. And guess what we're going to listen to, Alan? We're going to listen to the Groundhogs.
Oh, lovely.
I said,
Hi, it's Simon Pink. We're on Poppyland Radio, and I'm joined by my very special guest, Mr. Alan Fish. Alan, we've been talking about some of the bands you've been playing with. I hear rumours, I don't know whether there's any truth in this, it sounds a bit far-fetched. You've actually played with Chuck Berry. Is there any truth with that at all?
Yes, there is, yes. Red Lightning Records, Pete Shirts on Red Lightning Records, he contacted me and said, would I like to get a band together and support Chuck Berry around Europe on the tour. So we did. We got together. I think it was the mid 70s again. Yeah, and I'm trying to think what date it was. It doesn't matter really, but it's middle of the 70s. Yeah, and we met up with him in Lisbon, in Portugal, and no rehearsals or anything. Just walked on the stage, started playing, and we carried on all the way through, all around Europe, and ended up at the Rainbow in London. Our final gigs with him.
That's incredible. Chuck Berry, he was the king of rock and roll, just amazing stuff. Wow,
Yeah.
lucky man. Okay, so there's other rumours that you played for, you have some connection with Free, the band Free did All Right Now and so on. What's your connection with those?
Yeah, before Free, there was a band called Wildflowers, and they were I suppose they were backing band for Alexis Corner. And I met up with them in the I think it was called the Cat Trap Club in Norwich, at the back of the Bedford Arms. And I just played bass with them for a short time with Alexis Corner. But then they obviously got together with the guys from Black Cat Bones, Paul Kossoff and Andy Fraser, and joined up with Simon Kirk and Paul Rogers, and they formed Free. And actually it was Alexis Corner who named them Free. Next time I met up with them was at the Ely College, and the band I was with at the time, called Georgia Wood, a Norwich band. We were supporting them, and they'd just then written All Right Now and asked me what I thought of it. You know, it's a really catchy number, and never thought it was going to be the massive hit that it is. You know.
Well, it was a massive hit for them. And guess what? We're going to take a quick break, a bit of a music interlude, and we're going to play some Free. Let's see if we can do All Right Now.
She stood in the street, smiling from her head to her feet. I said, hey, what is this? Now, baby, maybe she's in need of a kiss. I said, hey, what's your name, baby? Maybe we can see things the same. Now, don't you wait or hesitate. Let's move. Let me tell you now. I took her home to my place, watching every move on her face. She said, look, what's your game, baby? Are you trying to put me in shame? I said, slow, don't go so fast. Don't you think that love can last? She said, love, Lord above. Now you're trying to trick me in love. All right now, baby, it's all right now. All right now, baby, it's all
great. That was a bit of Free there. Didn't cost much to play that, did it? This is Simon Pink on Poppyland Radio. I'm joined by one of my musical heroes, Mr. Alan Fish from the band Egypt. Check them out if you've not heard them. Alan's played with lots of very famous, well-known musicians in his time. You mentioned a few minutes ago you played with some of the guys from Free, but also you mentioned Alexis Korner, who is, the mainstay of blues. I remember listening to his radio show back in the sort of 80s, starting off with The Stumble. I wish you start off with The Stumble by Peter Green. And you sort of join up with him at some point. So tell us a little bit about Alexis Korner and what you've done with him.
Yeah, it's only just a few gigs we did, like the Marquee in its early days, and one or two of the blues clubs around London. Ronnie Scott's, I think, one of them. And we just did some backing with him, and with as you do with the blues guys, they just play away and you fit in where you can. So yeah, I think he had a 7-string guitar at the time. It was very unusual. Used to be called, his nickname was Spider, wasn't it? Spider Korner. Mm-hmm. So we didn't do massive tours, just a few gigs, but that was just before the early days of Free, which was a very exciting time. But later on, I did bump into the guys again when I was doing an album with Tony McPhee and Billy Boy Arnold. The Chicago blues guy, used to be harmonica player with Bo Diddley, and we did a whole album, 2 albums for Red Lightning Records with them. And I think I'm sure Alexis Korner came down to the studio and put 1 or 2 little bits on the album as well. I see the album is called Checking It Out. It's still a very, very popular album at the moment.
I've heard the album. I was on tour in Germany, and one of our mutual friends happened to play it to me. And it's certainly up there. It's a fantastic album. So yeah, worth checking it out, as it were. So yeah,
it wouldn't be Udo, would it?
It might well be Udo. Yes, from yes, quite a character, isn't he? We better not. This is a family show, Alan, so we better not mention too much about Udo. But what a hero! He's like my surrogate dad in a way. I love the guy. Anyway, yeah, moving on. Some more people that I've heard that you've played with, Motorhead or Lemmy in particular. I've seen lots of photos with him, so I guess there must be some connection there.
Yes, when I was with a band called Dumpy's Rusty Nuts for a few years, regulars at the Marquee in Wardour Street, Lemmy would always turn up at the gigs and jam with us. Well, you've probably seen some photos of us on the stage there together. And afterwards, we always go across the road to the what's it called, Sam Barrett's Club, right opposite, and Lemmy would sort of ensconced on the fruit machine in there, and we'd just sort of while away the night together. He was a great laugh, really, really good guy. And we met up a few times in our journeys around Germany. I think the last time was in Hamburg, Hamburg, and then Berlin. And Motorhead were playing at that time in the same cities we were, so we did chat amongst other things, have a bit of a night, a bit of a session. But then he moved to America, so we didn't really see very much from him after that.
Wow, I should have asked you who you hadn't played with, because you played with everyone, every band out there. There's one other one that I just wanted. I know you haven't played with them, but I've got some connection with the Beatles that you've played. Tell us a bit about that, Alan.
They stopped off at in Singapore when I was there, and as all bands did, the Kinks and Manfred Mann, everybody on their way to Australia, and then just did a show. The Stones were there. We did one with them. Did one at when we were early bands on the bill before the Beatles came on later. There was about 12 bands on and all. So that was at Singapore Badminton Hall, I think it was.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Did you get to sort of meet them, say anything to them at all?
Yeah, we had a chat in the hotel afterwards, and at the time it was very, very early days. I did see them prior to that in the Wembley Empire Pool, doing a show down there, one of the NME poll winners concerts, and just had a quick hello to them there, but never dreaming I'd meet up with them later on in Singapore. It was when they're never just becoming well known.
Well, it may be a bit cliche, but they are one of my very favourite bands. So I'm going to take a quick break. And while we're rushing off to the loo and doing all our things off air, we're going to stick a Beatles track on.
Oh, lovely.
Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Nobody ever loved me like she does. Oh, she does. Yes, she does. And if somebody loved me like she do me, oh, she do me. Yes, she does. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. I'm in love for the first time. Don't you know it's gonna last? It's a love that lasts forever. It's a love that has no past. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. And from the first time that she really done me, ooh, she done me. She done me good. I guess nobody ever really done me. Ooh, she done me. She done me good. Don't let me down. Hey, don't let me down. Don't let me down.
Hi, it's Simon Pink from Poppyland Radio. I'm joined by my special guest, Mr. Alan Fish, who knows just about everyone there is to know within music. We've talked about all the bands that he's played with, all the famous celebs he's played with. He's certainly been around. But I want to talk more about what you're doing at the moment and the band that you're in at the moment. So tell us a little bit about how it was formed, who's in it, and what you're actually doing, Alan.
What happened in the early 80s, I'd sort of been with the Groundhogs for quite a while, and Tony McPhee, he unfortunately had a bit of a stroke, a minor one at the time, and he called me up and said, would you like to get a band together, you know, with me again, and do you have anyone in mind for drummers or as a second guitarist? And at the time, there was one or two other drummers who'd been playing with us in the past, in the previous few years. But that time I then formed Egypt with Eric and a different drummer from Gibraltar, another Peter, and we had a separate singer. And that wasn't going too well. The vocals didn't work out that well. But so yeah, Eric came along as a second guitarist, and Peter came along. That's right, the new Peter. So we did a tour around Italy, Germany with him, carried on for quite a few years like that. But I think after a while, I wanted to do more with the band Egypt, who I then formed, and the record company got in touch and said, we'd like you to do an album, this, that, and the other. So I sort of left the Groundhogs as such then. Eric carried on playing on bass for a couple of years after I left. Egypt was still going in the meantime as a separate thing when Tony wasn't touring. So I think what happened at the time then, I think Eric and Peter did an album called Wolf in Hog's Clothing with all Muddy Waters numbers, Howley Wolf numbers. And then Tony decided to call it a day again, which he'd done a few times. And we carried on full time with Egypt from about 1987, 88. Yeah, getting on for 1990. And we've been ever since then playing with Egypt non-stop.
Geez, it's been sort of 25 years almost that you guys have been together. You've had some albums out. Tell us about the albums that you've released.
Well, the first one was with a separate singer, Riker, and that was quite a heavy sort of thrash metal almost. It's just called Egypt, and wrote a lot of the songs on there. In fact, some of the songs on there I'd written when I was with a band called Tradiga, who were the guys who were previously Budgie. So that's one of another band I dropped, name dropped. Mm-hmm. And so that was quite successful, was EMI. But then the vocalist left. We decided we'd want to go back to more bluesy stuff, which is what Eric liked playing as well. So we carried on as a three-piece, which the first album as a three-piece was called Preserving the Dead. Some of the old classics on there, like Baby Please Don't Go and things like that. But that was mostly our own numbers. And then after that, the next one we did was Midnight Sun. That's did very, very well. And also, what's the next one? Blues Kerosene. That's the latest studio album. Say latest, about 5 years, 6 years old. And a live one that we recorded in Jena when we were in Germany, sort of live in Jena. So yeah, they're all the ones we got at the moment.
Fantastic stuff. Now, have you got any gigs that are local around Norfolk, Suffolk, anywhere local that you can tell us about, Alan, over the next year or so?
Well, the only things we've got are a few local ones, as you say, because we haven't played anything for nearly 2 years or more. And unfortunately, Eric got this long-term COVID, which seemed to be getting in the way of everything. So we did have to cancel a couple of gigs earlier this year. So I'm just now looking up the gig list while I'm talking to you. Yeah, so we've got just local ones booked throughout the year. We have just joined a new agency, which is an international agency, and they sort of specialise, I suppose, in festivals. They've got an office in America and one in England. They've got quite a few different ones in different countries. So they're planning on things really for next year. And but the only ones we've got, I'm just looking at it now. We've got one at the end of this month. Here we are, in where are we? The Maid's Head in Norwich, which is the guy who runs that as an old friend, and he loves the Groundhogs. So consequently, we do that one. That's on May the 27th. We just got the one in Aylsham on June the 17th, and then we're at the Deer Blues Festival in July. I think you do that one yourself, don't you, Simon? Sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's we got one there. Another one called Bar 29 in Burnham Market. It's a very nice gig, that is. We've been doing that one again. They're very a lot of Groundhogs fans go to that. The other one is our regular local one at the Walnut Tree Shades in Norwich. That's July.
Ray.
And then we've got one. What was previously the Nantwich Blues Festival, but I think it's now been moved to Llandudno, and that's in August. Then we've got the Harbour Rooms in Blakeney in September, and then start the rounds again with the usual ones, Walnut Tree, Aylsham, and Burnham Market. And then we've got one at a place called Blues at Barleyland. That's in November. That's a very, very good blues venue, and that's on a Saturday afternoon. It's very, very full.
If people want to find out where you are, Alan, is there a website address, or is there somewhere they can go to see where you're playing?
Yeah. Well, we got the Facebook page, but also our main web page is www.egypt-blues.com. Egypt-blues, so Egypt-blues.co.uk, and all the gigs are on there. It's updated regularly, so that's a good place to look for things.
Brilliant. Okay, I'll keep an eye on that. Egypt, that's EGYPT hyphen.
EGYPT.
That's right. I always get that wrong. -blues.co.uk. I will go on that. I shall find it gigs. And we're going to take a quick break. We're going to try and play some of your songs. Here's an Egypt track we're going to play. Thanks, Alan.
Sunshine in my eye. Early
Pink from Poppyland Radio. I hope you're well. Yeah, it looks good out there, doesn't it? The sun is shining. Everything's fine. We've got Alan Fish here with us. If you haven't checked his band out, Egypt, you really should check the gigs out. They play all over Norfolk and they play all over Europe. So check them out. But Alan, is it true that you might be recording a new album soon? Is that, are there any rumours in that? Are they true?
Yeah, it's just true. Yes, we've been planning this for 3 years. This all came to a halt 2 years ago with COVID. But yeah, we what we're going to do. We play a lot of blues tracks in our own style in our live performances, and a lot of people said, "Oh, Dad, why don't you record that track? I'd like I'd love to have that on an album." So what we're going to do is record all the blues tracks that we're doing, other people's ones. We're going to put them onto an album. It's just Egypt Plays the Blues or something like that, some that kind of title. So hopefully we'll be doing that in the next 6 months. But I've got all the recording gear on the computerized now and in the barn outside. So we'll probably just record it here. Yeah, we were going to try and do it live, but live things don't always work the way you want them to. So we might do 1 or 2 of the tracks down a local venue or something like that. But I think most of it will be just done in the barn here.
Your barn, I've been to your barn a few times, some of your synonymous parties, and yeah, we've had 1 or 2 pints in there, and you set up a jam, and we've had some really great musicians come down there. So I guess the parties haven't been on for the last few years for obvious reasons. Is that something that's going to continue?
I hope so. Yes, in the next few months or so, we need to sort of get in there and clear it all out. Just got lots of furniture been stacking in there, and consequently, like you say, it hasn't been used for a couple of years, so it just needs a bit of a dusting down and opening up again. And yeah, hopefully we shall be going back to its former glory.
Brilliant stuff. Now, if you guys haven't heard Egypt, the band, they got a lot of their own material that they play, but they also play covers. So ones I can remember you covering a lot of Led Zeppelin. You do them, and you do it absolutely superbly. You really got the spot on. The early ZZ Top sort of stuff, Jesus Just Left Chicago, Blue Jeans Balloons, and things like that is amazing. I think there's a bit of Howlin' Wolf in there as well. You do. What other sort of covers, just to give the audience an idea? Oh, obviously the Groundhogs, you do the Split and Cherry Red and stuff like that. What other covers do you do, just to give the audience an idea of what sort of stuff that you do?
Some Johnny Winter numbers we put in occasionally. Some obviously Johnny Hooker, because the Groundhogs were Johnny Hooker's backing band when he toured in Europe. Yeah, so that's most of the blues guys I can think of, and one or 2. I can't remember. Like you say, Led Zeppelin. We put some of their tracks in. I can't remember who did all the other ones. We've got so many numbers. I can't. Until we're actually doing a live gig, and you say, well, play that one tonight. It's things like Just Want a Little Bit, and that kind of thing, which I believe Slade originally did a version of that, but I didn't realise it was somebody else wrote it, and the things like When the Levee Breaks, and that was, I know Led Zeppelin recorded it, but I think it was Memphis Minnie wrote the actual.
Yeah, isn't one of their own. Yeah, you're right. Oh, fantastic stuff. I mean, from my point of view, my personal perspective, Alan isn't actually sitting in the studio with me. He's on Zoom, so he can't punch me or anything or twist my arm. But I think, really, if you're into stuff like Zeppelin, ZZ Top, early AC/DC, that sort of thing, they are the band to see. Go and see Eric, the guitarist, for me, pound for pound, one of the greatest guitarists you'll ever see, and great singer. Peter's great on the drums, and Alan's not a bad bass player, are you, Alan? You tick along in the background. You get by. So yeah, with that, we're going to play another record, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Just got paid today, got me a pocket full of change. Said I just got paid today, got me a pocket full of change. Just got paid today, got me a pocket full of change. Say black sheep, black, do you got some wool? Yes, I do, man, my back is full. It's the real people, and you know the rest, but it's way ahead of what's second best.
Hi, Simon Pink on Poppyland Radio. Good to have you join us. And talking about joining us, we've got, well, actually not quite in the studio, but on Zoom at the moment is Alan Fish from the band Egypt. They are fantastic. Go and check them out. We've just been talking about their website address, which is egypt-blues.co.uk. Check the gigs out there. And we've just heard one of their numbers. Fantastic band. They really are fantastic. So, Alan, some of the gear that you use, and I'm a muso, so I sort of understand it. You're a bass player, and you play a Fender bass, and you've got some gear that is a few years old now, by the looks of it. But it just sounds amazing. It's warm and a lovely. And because you're a bassist, you can feel it pressing into your stomach in the audience. It's just fantastic. So, what is the gear that you actually use?
Well, it's Trace Elliott cabs. They weigh a ton, but they do sound good, you know. And I've got a Trace Elliott amp, and also I use a main amp occasionally, M-A-I-N-E. Very, very old. It looks like a cooker switch is on the front of it, but that does sound good. But I've started using this because I had a few problems with that, and it's hard to get spares for it. So I'm keeping that as a spare amp now and using an old Trace Elliott with the cabs, so I've been using them a lot together. And I use the precision bass. I've used that for many years. It used to belong to Steve Harris. He actually gave it to me.
Wow! What, from Iron Maiden? Steve Harris, Iron Maiden. Yeah. Wow! Yeah. Okay.
Well, they're very old friends actually, because what happened? A guy called Paul Sampson, unfortunately, is no longer with us, but he was the engineer on our first album, and he became very good friends. And Bruce Dickinson used to sing with him before he joined Iron Maiden in the band Sampson. So that's the connection there. And I had my original precision bass stolen when we were in Birmingham one night, and a few other things, not just mine. But and Paul said, "Oh, I'll get you a bass," and that was one that spare one that Steve Harris had. So that's the one I've got now.
Wow, how cool is that? That is amazing. That is amazing. Let's bring things a bit more up to date now. So obviously, you know, we've had COVID. Things have really been quite difficult for us musicians. We've got Brexit and stuff like that. For touring abroad has been awkward. What's your thoughts on the state of music and going abroad and stuff at the moment, Alan?
Well, it seems to be just getting back to sort of live gigs. You know, I mean, people were reluctant to actually go back to playing live gigs. Well, understandably with COVID, and quite a few of the bands who've started playing immediately caught COVID. I mean, our guitarist did the first gig we did back at the Walnut Tree in Norwich. The next day, so I got COVID. You know, but it's I think it's getting back to normal. People are just sort of saying now that's one of those things you've got to learn to live with. The bands, especially, because you're mixing with people all the time, obviously, and a lot of gigs unfortunately did fall by the wayside and closed, but a lot of them have still sort of stayed the course and are opening up with live music again, and it's nice to see it. It's just on the up. But this year has kind of been awkward because a lot of people weren't prepared to book gigs throughout this year, not knowing whether they're going to be in lockdown again and that kind of stuff. So it's taken a long while to get back to normal. You probably found that yourself, you know. But and there's quite a lot of bands looking for fewer gigs. So consequently, you got a sort of backlog of bands all trying to get into gigs, you know. But we've just stuck to local gigs, basically, keeping in the UK, because touring abroad has just priced itself out of the market at the moment. There's we checked one or two things. I mean, it's just going to cost £1,000 just to go to Germany and back, ferry and fuel and that kind of stuff. So you've got to, you know, before it was just hundreds of pounds, but look, you're looking at a lot of money now, plus all the jumping through hoops you've got to do with the carnet and green cards, all that kind of stuff with your gear. That's the biggest thing. If you're taking a van load of gear abroad on a ferry, you've got to list everything. And a couple of the bands who I know have been to France have had lots and lots of trouble with customs. Even as much as to say the inlays on your guitar, if you've got ivory anywhere, you're importing an endangered species into the country. And you have to get all these forms signed and all this, you know, it's just crazy. And I actually had loads of offers of gigs, especially in France in the last month or so. Some friends of ours have got venues up in the north of France, and the others are down on the south coast of France as well. But it's just wouldn't be viable financially. It wouldn't be viable to do them at this point.
What a shame! What an absolute shame! That is a shame, isn't it? Oh well, okay. And that's, you know, it's the state of music as it is, and we've just got to live with it, I guess. But it's not easy. And talking about music, I mean, music styles have really changed over the years. I mean, back in our day when we were younger, it was, you know, at the moment we're in a 3-piece band. It was guitar, bass, drums, and maybe a bit of keyboard. And then everything went a little bit sort of more electro. But it seems to be sort of coming back to playing instruments again now. Hallelujah. What's your thoughts on the changing styles of music?
Oh, I love it. You know, I'd love to see the young guys out there doing things. You know, they and especially as some of them model themselves on our previous years of heroes, you know, musical heroes like Led Zeppelin and that kind of thing, or like you mentioned, the Beatles, even the Stones, and one or two. A band I don't know if they were around a few years back called the Dandy Warhols.
Oh yeah. And
I thought that was the Stones playing when I heard one of those songs, you know. But they're very, very and the younger bands now are very, very good like that. You know, there's a couple of reminiscent of the Who. But that's another band we supported as well. It's quite interesting. I do like the way music's going. It's got a lot more, as you mentioned a moment ago, of the guys playing their own instruments rather than singing along to backing tracks or whatever you manage to do. It's good to see live bands doing that. You know, I'm very, very hopeful for the future.
Brilliant stuff. Look, it's great to have you join us, Alan. Thank you very much for coming in and spending some time with us, talking about what you've done and who you've played with. It's been fascinating. I've really enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll catch up again soon on another show.
Certainly, Simon. It's my pleasure.
Thanks, Alan. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bring it down home to you. Watch out, that move.